start us off?
Oh yeah. So like, I don't know how I came to like what led me down this wormhole, I guess, of thinking, or this pit. But I started thinking, just on some reflection shit. Like I always like to reflect, but I started thinking about like random. I was like, damn, I want to try to name something that I started that I didn't quit, and I couldn't think of anything. Like literally, I dropped out of high school, dropped out of college, left the military. You know what I mean?
Okay, I ain't know that.
There's nothing. There's literally nothing that I can think of that I started and didn't quit. Like drum, I don't play drums anymore. You know what I mean? I quit rapping.
I mean, I think that's a double-edged sword, though. Don't be too hard on yourself. I mean, did you get everything you needed? Because, I mean, you seem like a well-versed person, so it doesn't seem like you just,
Yeah, no, and I ain't just saying that it's a negative.
uncommittal, but it seems like things have their life cycle.
No,
So
no, I
sometimes,
agree.
man, you can get everything you got out of something if you get there quicker, and then it's just time. Sometimes it's time to move on. Sometimes you got to put stuff to bed. So, I mean,
The thing, but what it helped me. Well, honestly, I feel like a lot of the times when I get on myself and give myself shit like that, the result of it is always, you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
beneficial. The result of it is always beneficial. So like, it may be, how I say this. At the end of the day, it may come off to when I tell somebody, it may come off as a negative. At the end of the day, like I done thought it all the way through, and I can understand. Well, okay, then you know what I mean. Like I'm gonna intentionally not quit on shit that I don't want to quit because I never thought about it. So without actually having the idea to realize, like, damn, you done quit everything. Like, so it's like, okay, well, shit, whatever I really want to do, you know what I mean? And try to not to quit the shit. Like, you know what I mean? It just allowed me to actually have that intentional conversation
Oh,
with
yeah, I mean,
myself.
Gotcha.
you got to
You know what I mean?
reflect.
To really see.
You definitely got to think about it and,
Yeah, I never
do
had thought
your
about
own
that shit. At first, I
self-therapy.
was like, damn, you a sorry motherfucker.
I mean, I'm a dude that didn't quit a lot of stuff too, but I mean, I feel like once it goes through the cycle and it's not like beneficial, I mean, I don't think.
Yeah, but who's to say it ain't beneficial if you quit? It could have been beneficial, but you fucking quit.
That's true. I'm just,
You said,
It could have been beneficial, but you quit. It could have.
oh,
You
okay. I
may
thought you were
on
saying
the
something.
back end, you may validate the fact that you quit based on what you're saying, but it could have actually led you to a whole different.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just the
yeah,
idea of like trying
that's
to
true too.
intentionally not quit on shit that you want to do.
And so in your reflection, that's kind of where you landed, is that being that you've noticed that pattern, you want to be more intentional about making sure if it's something that you care about, that you kind of follow
Exactly.
all the way through with it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's it. I
No, that's
think that's a
valid
really
point.
good space of reflection.
Let's go to Taj.
What's up?
So how often do you do self audits? Everyone.
Shh.
Self audit.
I actually like that better than like self reflection, self
I
audit.
mean, I try
I
to
like
do.
that better.
No,
It's all,
it sounds it's just a
and it's
little.
not fucking how they do these cliches and these
Yeah,
people
that's I
keep. I
like
like
that.
self audit.
I
It's
like
just
that.
it feels more. It's original
But
versus
no,
these
I try to do
buzzwords.
a mini one daily. Like I say, I mean, not some. There's some days, especially like during like holidays in the past weekend, where stuff been just moving fast, so I haven't necessarily got to tap in the past couple days, especially like through the holiday. But no, especially like during a week or a normal week when I'm working, I try to at least at some point do tap in. But then there's also bigger audits that you gotta have too, especially when you find yourself like coming to milestones or transition points. You gotta kind of know where you're at and where you want to go to, especially like end of the year. That's always a big, like birthdays. That's always a big, like let me see the trajectory, not just like it's micro and macro too. So you can get caught up in the micro so much that you're not looking at the macro. So I think you got to have both of them.
Yeah. I guess I'm very similar with Johnny, where I think my aunt is a couple annual self audits that kind of go down where birthday and right around like that month, there's always a heavy self audit that happens. Like you said, New Year's. I think the changing of year is definitely another one. there's a bunch of micro versions of it that I do as well, where I take long showers and I usually kind of think through a lot of pieces of the day inside that, and I kind of sit and try and reflect on good, bad, just where conversations went. If I said exactly what I felt, if I have amends to make with like a perspective and kind of like go a different place with it, and then yeah, I guess so. So I have that version, and then there's like the audit I do occasionally. Like I'm not like a heavy smoker in any sense, but there is a time that like I might smoke every once in a while because it just gives me a different perspective in like the exact same things per se. So yeah, that's kind of like my kind of
Yeah, I would pretty much agree with everything you said. And then I just want to like the smoking. When I nowadays I used to, you know what I mean, I used to smoke. Nowadays I don't really, you know what I mean, I hit it every now and then.
yeah. Every
But
once in a
now,
while.
bro, when I smoke, those literally be those ones where you, and then it's funny because for me, the I guess it's the anxiety that comes with that audit. It's like a positive and negative because like I'll OD on
Yeah,
that
that's why
audit.
I don't.
That's
That
I don't
high
the thing
smoke
audit
about
it
yeah.
be
That's the thing
different, bro.
about
That
No,
one be
it seems like
different.
you
Like
see everything as clear as possible.
yeah,
I mean-
but it don't even for me. I be ODing with it though. Like I literally yeah. And that's the crazy. Like
It's
I'm
because it was
harder
that
on
sativa.
myself.
It wasn't the indica. It was the
That's what it
sativa.
was.
Nah,
That's
that
what I've been
sativa,
learning.
them sativas will get you, bro. Them sativas
Yep.
have you sitting in the room.
That's why they need to go ahead and legalize it so I can go and pick my own shit and just make sure that's the one that I like. Matter of fact, I like that on Saturdays.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
right.
That ain't hard.
Sativa Saturdays.
Did you see the Forrest Whitaker meme that was going around and it said sativa and indica and it was talking about his eyes? Have
Yeah,
you seen that?
that's a funny one.
That,
That's
that
a
reminded
funny
me.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, nah, shoot.
But no, that's part of the whole. Even back in the day when I started smoking, that was the whole appeal to it. It's like, I found myself after I smoked, I was like, damn, man. You could look at yourself, reflect, creativity, introspection. Those was
Hey,
always
don't it
two.
just sound like nigga trying to validate being a pothead right
Nah,
now?
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, cause that's
Hey,
the
kid,
bullshit.
say,
You know how many
say,
motherfuckers I know that ain't thought a goddamn thing about
I just want to say to the audience,
hey, say no to drugs.
on setup, Johnny P took 7 minutes to put a battery in.
No.
Why y'all think that happened? What you think made that happen?
Hey man, we got all these cameras in here, it's all the same batteries. Hey, I was taking my time making sure I ain't damaged the equipment. Man.
That's what it
I was
was.
taking my time, handling the equipment with care. That's all I was doing.
Gotcha. So Roy, I think you put something in the group chat. You had a question.
Oh yeah. Oh, I guess I would like to ask Taj this question, right? Let's say that you do, or let's say one of your homegirls, right? And she's like you're speaking to her baby daddy, right?
Okay.
And he calls you. He's like, you know what I mean? Which it probably won't happen, but because we just hold it. But at the same time, he calls you like, it done went left. You know what I mean? She done start kind of being physically aggressive. Do you tell her to call the police, or tell him to call the police, or does he wear it?
I don't think you should have to wear that. If I think for me, it's kind of levels of it, right? If it's one of those things where she's starting to do like minor physical things, that I would definitely have a conversation with her and let her know, like, look, that's not cool. Because if the shoe was on the other foot, you would definitely feel a certain type of way if he started, to hit you in any type of way. Now, if it becomes like aggressive where she's like throwing knives and like drawing blood and you literally have physical bruises, absolutely, you need to
Hold on,
call
but
the
see,
police.
that's my thing. So I actually gotta be bleeding to
No,
feel
I'm
like
just
I should
saying-
call the police.
No, I'm saying like for me, like I'm going to have a conversation. No, I'm just saying I'm going to have a conversation with my friend. Okay, think about like the use of force with police officers, right? They have like different levels until it gets to the most aggressive, right? So I'm thinking about that on the abuse spectrum. If my friend's boyfriend calls me and say, "Hey, Shorty put her hands on me," I'm gonna have a conversation with her to check her. If it continues, he absolutely needs to call the police because that can be one of those things that progress and progress and progress. So yeah, at some point the behavior does need to be addressed and checked because if it was vice versa and the man was putting his hands on the woman, she would call the police without a thought.
Yeah,
So
I got a question. I got so. Hey, I'm just playing devil's advocate, but you're saying like I guess there's more leeway with a woman, or like because of a guy, like if the first time a
The
guy hits a
first
woman,
time.
it's automatically done cross the line. So if a woman hits a man, like that should, it shouldn't be any. Well, it shouldn't be any. Oh, let me go check. I feel like, man, if you get physically aggressive with me, my property, you know, it's whatever, man. Because I gotta protect myself. Because if I go to the opposite, if I react the same way you react, it's gonna be a problem.
I never said that there was leeway. If my friend's boyfriend calls me and asks for advice, hey, your homegirl's putting her hands on me. As a friend, I need to go check my friend and be like, that shit's not cool. You shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
And I need for her to understand, because if he put his hands on you, you wouldn't want that. And you would call the police without a shadow of a doubt. And I will let him know, if she does it again, she's already been warned, right? She does it again, call the police. It's kind of like when you're reprimanding a child. You got to be like, hey, you don't do this, and this is why you don't do this. If they continue, then that's when you initiate the discipline.
Yeah.
But that's the advice that I would give him. I'm not saying it's acceptable in no way, shape, or form. No one should put their hands on each other. Because it's kind of like one of those things, the minute a woman put her hands on a man, it's kind of fair game. Because many people, when they get upset, they don't differentiate, oh, this is a woman, not a man. They just get mad, and whatever happens, happens, right? So it's one of those things that it shouldn't be allowed, no matter.
Or especially as a man, because as a man, I'm taught that if somebody hits me, I'm supposed to hit them back. Like, that's what my mama told me, like growing up. Somebody put their hands on you, you put your hands back on them. So that's why, like, a woman shouldn't put her hands on me, because
Exactly.
I don't, hopefully I call the police, because that's a way better response. Because if it's the opposite, we all gonna be looking crazy.
Right, because if you react from her putting her hands on you, then you're gonna be the one that looks crazy, because like, oh, you should never hit a woman, you should never hit a woman,
Right.
because you reacted. That's what I'm saying. It shouldn't even get to that point. Like, abuse is one of those things that it definitely needs to be rectified as soon as possible. It shouldn't be something that you just kind of slide and let go and let go and let go. Because like I said, it's going to continue to progress. If somebody thinks, oh, I can slap him and get away with it, all right, I might be able to throw a shoe at him and get away with it.
Yeah, what's happening
Okay.
next I'm getting
Right.
the argument.
Right. It's one of those things that continue to progress. So I do feel like it needs to be checked sooner than later.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, I was thinking about that same conversation. I was thinking about it a little bit more. I was like, hey, what's crazy is I think that the I think that there is a population of women that reflect the fact that their attitude in relationships, and their, how do I want to say, their pretty much the person that they are within relationship is a result of not having said consequence. So if there's no consequences to what you've been doing, and you've been doing this shit, this whole "I see red," you know what I mean? You done heard that shit
There's no
way
reason
more
for
with.
her to change.
So you literally got pacified. So now you've been enabled to continue to do this without consequence. So some dude is going to have to hold this L that every dude before her has actually prepped him to hold
And you know
by
what?
not
And then even
doing.
if he try to check her, then it's gonna be an even bigger.
Yeah.
I actually had a friend, her and her guy had been together for years, and there were instances where she would like call him a bitch. She would put her hands on him and things like that. Eventually, they ended up breaking up. But then the relationship she got into after that was an abusive relationship from the guy's perspective. Like, he was putting his hands on her. I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that was like karma or anything, but it's kind of one of those things where you did that to him and he didn't do anything about it. And now this guy did it to you in your first, like, she kind of let it slide until it got to a point where she couldn't let it slide anymore. But I kind of feel like it's one of those things that it needs to be checked for real, because she shouldn't have. It's like anytime disrespect happens, especially when it's an intimate partner, because you guys are so close together, you're opening up to each other, you love each other, you're being vulnerable. I feel like that definitely needs to be rectified sooner than later, because the disrespect will continue and continue and continue. And it's a person that you're supposed to love and grow with. So that shouldn't even be happening, honestly, in relationships.
Yeah, no,
And
I agree with her.
and you shouldn't be laying down with nobody you feel like you can't check neither. Like if you afraid to say something to your woman, y'all probably shouldn't, be locked in like that neither.
Or even the woman say anything to the man, too.
But yeah, vice versa. Yeah, vice versa. I was just speaking on my perspective. But
Yeah.
no, I think you want to finish it up, or
Yeah, no, I feel like I got it off, and then it was all in agreement, so it is what it is. But that part, the part about like people having to, or us holding or men down the line will hold the L for said consequence not being taught from the beginning. That is to me, that's a big part. That's a big part of it. So like, I know a good bit of dudes that like, and I posted it on Facebook a minute ago. I was like, how many dudes on here can say they never been hit by a woman? Of course, dudes ain't gonna say nothing because it's Facebook and da da da. Da, but at the end of the day, I know that probably every dude in here that held
most
it.
dudes
Oh, you ain't never been hit by one before?
I wasn't raising my hand for that.
Oh, okay,
Oh, I thought bro had a story, bro.
I was just trying to get. Say,
I thought bro wanted to give his story.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
No, I think that where we're at kind of segues to a bit of another question or another kind of topic that we've hit on, where the reality of what you're saying, a lot of guys don't, and even on that Facebook post that you talked about, probably didn't speak up about it is because of pride. Men, in the way a lot of times we have to wear our pride. If you're getting abused by a woman, most guys aren't going to initially come say anything. It's because of pride, right? In which we was actually having a conversation somewhat earlier and last night about pride and men's pride, and even where at times it's a very detrimental piece, where we was proposed this concept, and all of us naturally rejected it, but you see the opposite sex do this all the time, and it's a very beneficial thing. Johnny, how would you feel about having an apartment warming and asking all your guy friends to pitch in for like different things?
Before I answer that, I want to say welcome back to the To Be Fair Show. I am your host, Johnny P.
Over here, real.
It's Q.
And we're back. And you said, how would I feel about having an apartment warming or house warming? Or
Like
just
you're in
a
need
warming?
of like maybe like some different little things around the house. Having an apartment warming,
Nah.
hitting up your homeboys.
Nah.
Right.
No, that ain't. I mean, if anybody wants to do it, I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. But if it's just as far as me personally, I'm probably not going to, do the whole thing of having a list of things that I need. And I don't know if it's necessarily pride, but
What else would it be?
Pride is the devil.
I'm an independent person. I don't know, but
Oh, you're still walking down the pride line. You didn't go left or right there. You're just still walking on it.
Then you imagine, and I agree with him though. But just
I'm an
imagine
independent
where
man. That's what he said.
you trying to figure out what
I said
kind of
person.
cheap shit. You trying to think what.
I said person, but I mean, it's just, maybe it's pride, but it's just me. I'm not finna ask
I
nobody
agree.
for no whole bunch of items. Maybe if I had about a house, if I did a housewarming.
Still, it's the same.
Would
It's
you-
the same. It sounds.
for,
good.
I feel like
apartment.
usually that happens with like if you buy a house with your partner, and then it's like a
He
house
actually
warming.
still would
Yeah,
do it.
and
You know what I mean?
She'll initiate that.
As a guy,
I see
it's not,
that,
you don't
yeah.
really kind of
Have a housewarming.
You don't even add nothing to the list. Like, go ahead.
Hey, babe,
List
put that
ties.
toaster oven on there.
No, I was going to say, if your friends are a brotherhood and they're your community, why would you feel some type of way about asking them for help?
It's not asking them. It's just asking anybody. It ain't got nothing
yeah.
to do
That's
with
just
it.
asking in
pride
general.
part. That
Yeah,
asking in
guys
general.
really
It ain't about
in
the
battle.
Yeah, it ain't about the.
Yeah, because like literally, I was living with my pops, and I may have mentioned this previously. Like I was living with my pops, like still in school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got kicked out doing some dumb shit. You know what I mean? Dumb shit. Stole Mom Duke's car. Took the tag off of my step pop's car.
Hey,
Put it
man,
on her car.
hey,
and-
man,
so I'm just saying, I got kicked out. I earned it.
He was
is what
out here
I'm
living
saying.
life, boy.
I earned it is what I'm saying. So I got put out. When I got back, my shit was already in the front. You know what I mean? She had already called old head and everything. When I got back, he was there. All my shit was packed. And we moved. I moved over there with him. And literally, no food in the house. Like, I ain't even say nothing then. Like, I would just walk to Mom Duke's house.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably about a nice 45-minute walk just to eat and then come back. Like, Mom Duke's would drive me back, though. So I knew at least I was going to get a ride back. But, you know what I mean? Walking over there every day. Never even tell them, like, you know what I mean? Oh, ain't no food in here.
I mean,
Or even in college, no jacket, just coat in the wintertime. Still just walking to class. Like, I just ain't going to ask for shit.
no, I done been. I mean, I know the feeling because I don't like asking. I don't like asking for shit neither. But, sometimes you do have to. We probably do need to shed that a little
I
bit
could-
because
I agree. I agree
there's been
100%.
times where I've like not asked for like and then been like
Fucked up.
like hungry and shit, well, and not asked, and it's just like I mean I get the premise of it how we probably need
What do you
to-
think it comes from, though? as men, because it literally seems as though, like, I know for a fact that my sister doesn't have a problem asking my dad or asking for help, asking me or anyone. What do you think that comes from? What is it that in men
I
that
think it's a part of just the general gender roles that we are conditioned into with society. It's the other side of the traditional thing where like guys are expected to be able to hunt, kill, and provide. In essence, and as a
and
guy,
suffer
you feel
too?
as
You
though,
should be able to suffer with, you know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah, yes,
Almost
that's
You
also a
you should
part
be
of
able
it.
to hold. You should be
suffering.
able to hold whatever L you get.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
So,
you
so
should
as a
be strong
guy,
enough to hold it.
typically, I imagine like the reason you don't say anything is because you then feel a space of inadequacy because you're not quote unquote living up to this role or this thing that might be a impossible standard that's placed to where no guy's always going to just be able to provide and do everything from 18 all the way up. But in general, the men that like the archetype of a man that we've been provided typically is that. So to go against it is harder inside the guy's mind. That to me, that's what I believe that it go. That's what it comes from. Yeah.
Well, but even for me, like, cause like even like with me and my pops, there's been times where I've had to ask pops for something, and then it be so much, you know, that come with it and explaining that it come at doing it after. And then I'm like, nah, I'm good, bro. I'll take it, bro. I eat it. I earn that.
But but that still kind of hits on the same thing
That's
because like
funny.
even with him, he's looking at his son. I'm sure that like the
the
conversation kind
same,
of
yeah,
like
it's the same, yeah.
like hits on the fact like, and I want you to be able to go out and do these
Right,
things, these
yeah,
traditional
XYZ,
male
yeah.
archetype things.
And exactly because he got
Hunt,
that
kill,
he got
provide, and
that
stuff.
archetype in his head, and then it's like, you know, I don't want to hear the I'm not living up to XYZ and all that, and so that's why, you know, like I say, I hold a L. I got a strong back. I done
Right.
held a couple of L's that I probably didn't have to just because,
Yeah.
but
That be the worst part. You don't need to be, and that's the thing. It's like, is it? And that's the thing about a lot of different. There's a nuance.
I like
Q
that
wants, my
word.
bad. Q wants.
There's a
Oh, no,
No,
nuance.
this man trying to
I'm
brand.
gonna put
lot
a
of
shirt on it. It's gonna be a shirt.
It might as well though. Might as well. But it's almost like is it a negative or is there like a middle ground to it? Because on one side you can say
I think that'd be the answer. That is probably a middle ground to it.
the nuance.
Go ahead and say
Okay.
it, bro. I know you want to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to let you land
Go
before I
ahead.
hopped in. But yeah, no, I do think so. I think that most, especially inside modern times, uh, general archetypes that we ascribe, gender roles, all these things, when at 100%, it probably has some quote unquote toxic characteristics to it. That we probably have to kind of like look at most things as the word wouldn't be like it's a sliding scale, and it's kind of like where you fit at. But if you're quote unquote a masculine man, where on this side of the 50% are you at? Maybe you're like 60, 70, 80, 90.
I actually that's a fire ass sweater, bro. And then the way you did with the beanie with the
Oh, with the gray.
you put it together like I gotta respect that. I gotta
Q, what brand is that?
It says loyalty loves different.
That's
Shout
cool.
out to Old Head. Old Head does have an apparel line, hoodies, shirts, sweatshirts. Loyalty loves different. Where does that concept come from?
So and I guess on the first and the concept came from just the idea of like to be completely honest, it was like a when I had my daughter, it was a way that it was a feeling thing. Like so like when I always say like nobody loves there's no unconditional love like your adolescent child and then a dog. That love is just different than any other love that I've experienced myself personally, and I think that anybody that kind of it's like one of those things you can see, like yeah,
Okay.
that it's so like that type of love that comes, that unconditional love. That's like that unconditional love is loyalty.
Okay.
It is literally like or loyalty is a byproduct of that unconditional love. And that literally like what helped me come with the idea of the loyalty love difference. So like on the first one, on the first design, like the one you got on, is like me pushing my daughter in the stroller, you know what I mean, down the street, and it was like, you know what I mean, something I, you know, in my mind I thought that would be dope to capture those kinds of moments where it's
Oh,
like
Yeah.
that's a moment.
those black, not even just necessarily, but those universal, and it's just gonna be black characters that I use just because I'm a black man and that's where I want my joint to move, but. Those moments in time that like we don't really think about, like, you know, it's just something, you being loyal to your love, those moments that you can like actually take a picture of, and it's just like, damn, no, that was fire. We just take them for granted, and I think that capturing those in stills and putting on a pair was like really dope.
Yeah, nah, I think that's fire. So, nonetheless, hit old heads DMs. He got them for him. He got them for you, should I say? Loyalty loves different.
For sure.
Taj, I think you was burning. I feel like you had like 3 questions during that last segment.
No, I only
What you
had
want to get off
one.
your chest?
How you guys were saying that you don't ask for help, right? Or you don't ask for when you need things. How does that translate to your relationships? Do you not ask your partner for the things that you need?
In my relationship specifically, I can't. Now this is one that I can't really speak, you know, broadly about, just me specifically. I guess I only ask when the problem is that you don't already know, where you're not already, because in the relationship the expectation is that we kind of already know what I need. We already know, like I would voice it from periodically, but and it's actually to a fault, so it does affect the relationship negatively in my opinion, or at least for my specific scenario, because by the time I'm asking, I'm already in my feelings about the fact that it's not being fulfilled, whereas it should be more of a dialogue.
You saying
It should be more of a
you
dialogue
should be more
beforehand.
verbal up front.
Right, because I don't ask anybody for help. Me, even with her, it's like I expect for you to already kind of, you know what I mean, already kind of
Let me ask you this: is that because like you're expecting a certain kind of chemistry to be there, to where like that it's non-verbal communication. You can see how I'm feeling, and I expect you to respond to that. Because I've been like in
That's
those.
all. Also, my bad.
Well, no, what you was gonna say?
I think that's an unrealistic expectation though, to
I
have
mean,
for
it
a
is.
person to be a
It definitely is. Because I was gonna say I've been that in certain relationships. With my past relationships, I've been less, willing to verbalize my needs. So I need this, I need that. We locked in. This is what I need, and so moving forward, that's definitely something that I'm trying to be intentional about, or just more open. Just me being more open and stuff, and being more vulnerable is letting my needs, verbalizing them, and this is what I need, and just this definitely, that's definitely a good question, because it is something that it's an issue. For me personally, it's been an issue. Me not saying what I've needed in certain relationships.
and you know the thing is that I agree. I agree that it's a something that that needs to be addressed. But like for me specifically, like my needs like have been consistently the same for extended periods of time. Like I'm not one of the people like
Right. I
I'm
mean,
in a scenario where I need you to do this and this is like a one off,
and
like
then next week I need you to do
yeah,
this.
it's literally the same. My expectation is like
I think
very much the
most
same.
men are
It's
very
consistently the
consistent
same.
in what we need as
Yeah.
far as to keep us going, and that gas or that put that battery in your back. I think for most men it's that same. I need that encouragement. I need that support. Also I need you to tell me when I'm fucking up, and I need a kick in the ass sometimes. When I'm being too introspective or too comfortable, and I am. So there's a certain, need. I need to be wanted too. I like that feeling of, needing to be needed and wanted
Yeah,
too.
that's what I was about to
Right.
say too. Yeah.
I guess if I play a little bit of the other side, I also think that yes, even if your needs are consistent, right? we also have to make sure that we take into account that there's a whole other human being that's dealing with a bunch of other things that's inside a relationship, in which them worrying about their self and different things that they have going might not realize when there's a deficit in what they're doing for you as well. And I think that that's something to kind of really sit and think through, is that inside a relationship, there's really two humans going. So there's not one person that's just, constantly thinking about your needs, and then you're doing your self-evaluation and making sure your needs are met, or vice versa. An equitable relationship, like, it's two humans that are still figuring themselves out, and you never know what's going on in their mind and whatever. In which I think it does come a space where sometimes you might have to re-say a thing, re-say a want, re-say a need, because at this moment, this person might have went off track with figuring out this new part of themselves that they're growing into.
No, I want to respond to that a little bit, because I mean I get that as far as like, yeah, everybody, life tough for everybody. Like we all living, we all out here trying to figure it out. Men, women, black, everybody. Life is tough. It's gonna have its ups. It's a roller coaster ride. You got to trap in and ride the ride. But as a man, I feel like I'm always like, when I'm in a relationship, it's always, as the man's part, to always be trying to look to fulfill needs. To where like
I don't know if that's that. I'm gonna let you go ahead and get it.
I mean, that's how I feel when I'm in a relationship. I'm always like looking to fulfill a need, and that's where
But do
sometimes
you
as
ever
a
break
man,
up with a person because they're not fulfilling a need of yours? I think that we just have like different needs per se. It might be like more monetary, more emotional, just depending on the gender. But in general, I think that if you're able to do like the self audit and realize like when it's time to step away, it's probably because of that person's not fulfilling your needs.
no, I get that, but what I'm saying
And
is, before like a woman stuff, I feel like they're more vocal about their needs. I need you to do this. I need you to do that, and then after she done said it to you a few times, if you're not, then she'll break up. But as guys, I don't feel like we ever get to that point to where we're vocal about like what our needs are before the breakup. Yeah, I done broke up with a chick,
right, but that goes to the
without being,
original
but I
question,
haven't,
right?
but I didn't give her that opportunity the same way like I was given the opportunity. She was like, yeah, this is what when I've been broken up with, I need this, I need that, and then I still might not have done it. When I've broken up with chicks, it might have been she don't get it. I said it once. Okay, if she ain't getting it, then I'm breaking up. So it's just more about, I think it's the double-edged sword. I think guys need to be more vocal to give them that extra opportunity for them to.
Right. So
I'm sorry.
I guess we're saying the same thing. Then.
Maybe, yeah.
So I have a question, and see, this is something that came up, and my bad, Ty. Just give me
I
one
got
second.
you.
How many? And I guess just for me, like I ain't been a guy that like broke up with women. Like I think that most dudes, what we do is we tap out, and then us tapping out is she'll eventually break up with you. So how many or would you say that that's been your experience, or your experience, or
I
what
think
would you
that
say?
I think that what you said is probably one of the.
That's how it goes most times.
Yeah, most times. Have I did both? Yes, I've definitely did both. But even if we just started at the point, because in essence, you're breaking up with a person when you tap out.
Yeah,
When you become an unresponsive partner, you're just waiting for them to actually deliver the
do
blow.
it. Right.
So it's still something that's happened that got you to that point where some need or anything has not been met.
Yeah.
So are you saying you're vocal before? Have you been vocal before that point, or?
As I've gotten older, I'm usually fairly clear enough.
Okay.
And if I'm like leaving a relationship, breaking up in a relationship, it's because of I vocalized something.
I'm talking about that
multiple
tapping. I'm
times.
talking about that tapping out part. Like have you been vocal before that? You're leaving, but the tapping out part, we're not leaving. Just the tapping out part.
So I guess I'm putting them at the same spot.
Okay, all right, I get that.
And yeah, if I just think about my last relationship that I was in, where me breaking up with her, I didn't tap out, so I just like broke up with that person, and that breakup came from me articulating multiple times specific needs and those not getting met over an extended period of time, to where to me I had to draw a line,
No, I get
and that was kind of like where I was at with it.
You know something crazy? I was actually thinking about this too. another way. Remember, we were talking about like the idea of if you don't, if let's say of the physically abusive, if a woman is going to physically abuse a man and he doesn't actually, we've consistently not provided a consequence for that action, it being to the detriment of the scenario. Now, then again, on the when I was asking if you in a relationship, which me myself, I always tapped out and then let her break up with me.
Okay.
So literally, that's all every time I've ever like been in a relationship with a woman and I didn't want to be there anymore. I ain't never just be like,
You ain't never
yeah,
told
I'm
her.
done. You know what I mean? I ain't never been. I always just tap out,
That's
and then
interesting.
you pretty much going. I already know it. I'm gonna make
You
you
know
go
when it's
ahead and-
you already know when it's
just
gonna happen and all
yeah,
that.
but then again, that is also another one of those disservices that we are doing. Is because like the idea that
Yeah, no, that's
you were
facts.
always breaking up with every man that you had, you were never really still. There's still never. Well, I ain't gonna say never. There's a possibility that you do reflect and do say, "Oh yeah, even though I broke up with him, I was da 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 da." But it lessens the chances of you doing that versus if he would have went ahead and just be like, "Man, I'm just done."
Now, see,
Say that one more time.
I understand what the
Yeah.
concept of what you're saying as far as like if
kinda
a
got
man
lost.
ain't like upfront with his feelings as far as just tapping out and letting her break up, she might take it as something she did wrong.
No,
Versus,
I
Yeah,
think
it's like the
I think
whole feel like your loss.
Okay.
yeah, I
I got
feel
what
or
what
you're
you're
it could
saying.
it could just be one of those things where you're not letting that person grow. Some people are willing to grow relationships and some people want that feedback. So if you're just
Nah, I
constantly
get that.
tapping out and you're not providing that person feedback to help your relationship grow, they might not never really notice like, hey, I
They
might have
might
been
not ever
slipping on
self
this.
correct. Be
Yeah,
able to
so
do
it's
Oh, no,
like
no.
real self audit.
And that goes back to
Right.
being vocal about the shit
Yeah.
too, like what I was saying earlier. But
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean it kind of circles. Go ahead.
The thing is though, of course, like you don't, or in my from my past, it's not like, oh, you've never heard what my problem is with how this thing is going. You done heard it multiple times. The difference is that like for at least I feel like for men, or at least for me, I can't speak for all men. I know that they're like in relationship, I've constantly been changing. Like I've been addressing a lot of different concerns. You know what I
Okay.
mean? But I feel like there's a difference in how, or at least the women that I had dated, their response to my my like areas of improvement that I see.
Well,
So
yeah,
like it's more of a defensive thing when I actually bring it to you versus me, and I'll sit there and I listen to what you're saying and I do my best to understand what you're saying and actually implement. Not saying that upon like I can't just change my whole being after you just said this, but it'll be intentional because naturally she'll keep saying it. If once you do kind of go a little bit straight, she'll keep coming back to let you know again the same thing versus where on my end, I guess, and that's another reason like that whole being vocal, we need to do it more is because that consistently being on your ass is something that we generally don't
we're
do.
not gonna do it as
Yeah,
men.
so and that's the reason why you tap out because I done told you this already. Then
let
if I
me-
tell you this again, now I done, you know what I mean? I ain't gonna keep saying it.
But let me add to that. But and the reason why it's a disservice, like you say, is because like as a man, I done been with a woman and she didn't vocalize her needs, haven't met him. She broke up with my ass.
Mm-hmm.
I understood. Oh shit. Next time I gotta be better. If you just tap out and don't break up with her ass, how is she gonna grow and
Exactly.
learn and move on like forward from that? If you just tap out and you become the bad guy at that
Exactly.
point when you
She-
don't tap out, and then she look at herself.
Well,
It was
it's
just
its own
him.
vicious
And
cycle.
that's what I'm
there's-
saying. It's to the
but there's
detriment
no
of
but there's
every
no
man.
growth that comes with that because
Well, I
she
mean,
just
it's
look at the
detriment
guy as
of
the bad guy.
each person.
Yeah,
Because
but I'm
you're
just saying that
Yeah,
every
everybody,
man
yeah.
after will still hold that very L because you didn't give the time for her
because you didn't break up with
Exactly.
her. She look at you as the bad guy, and then when she go to the next relationship when he just tap out, she look at him as the bad guy, and there's no place where she's like, oh, maybe I need to be
Exactly.
better. Where,
That's the point that I was making.
where women like you'll get with a woman and she'll be like, I need this, and then if you don't get, she'll break up with you, and then you'll be out here like, oh, okay, I need to grow. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's the difference. But we'll let
So I want to. Rel was saying something about like a woman will consistently remind you, but then you're also saying that I'll tell her one time and I break up with her. Why is there not the same amount of grace allotted to women when you guys have a concern that women allot to men. So if I'm repeating myself, why don't you feel like you have to repeat yourself?
It go back to pride.
And then
Like it's the whole thing we was originally talking about. Guys, like when I feel like I'm coming constantly, I need this, I need that, I feel less. I feel inadequate if I'm always having to vocalize a need or something that I need.
And then it's not
it makes me
necessarily-
feel like less as a man. That's
it may not-
just and I don't know if that's right or you know what, but that's just the psychology of it.
then also you got
Personally.
to look at like how men have been programmed to be. It's literally a man nagging.
Right.
That is not something that you know what I mean? That's not something that is looked at as acceptable for a man to do. So after, you know what I mean? That's just generally how we move. Society has not taught us, or, you know what I mean? It's not taught us to be that way.
Well, even
So
the
it's going to
nagging
be
word is
naturally
negative.
different. That's just natural differences between men and women. Women generally are able to speak their opinion and their emotion throughout their lives. Men are to hold, and we're taught to hold and take the L. To hold the L, so we consistently will take the L and hold it. At the same time, we expect for when we do actually decide to speak and say this thing that we want improvement on, we expect it to be taken as serious as, you know, and it's not that, I'm not saying that it's right, but I'm just saying that is our natural, based on the way that we kind of been taught.
I'm gonna get to the top. It kind of should be though if people know that men aren't vocal, and they know, and then
It's all
if
about
you hear a
adjusting.
man say, "This is what I need," you probably should take it at face value the first time the man say it, because
I got pushback to that.
There's so much,
Because
so many
what I'm
different
going to
versions of
say,
pushback to give.
okay.
crap, I just lost my train of thought, I think.
No, I'm just letting y'all get it out.
I mean, just say, but Quint goes against like his logic goes. I not understand the logic because it's like, okay,
Oh, I got my question
if
back.
if we take the actual differences out of like how society actually, how everything has been, and you look at it on like everybody should be
In a
equal.
vacuum. If you look at it in a
you can
vacuum, of
push back
course.
on every single male perspective of everything.
Well, no,
but at the end of the day,
that's not it.
Life ain't in a vacuum.
No, but that's not it. So I think that explaining what you're doing and knowing that is detrimental, and then not like saying what should be done. What's the stepping stones to it? So if the complaint goes down to the idea of that we should express our wants and needs more, make concrete decisions so that women can make better. Do better things. But then we're also throwing in this conversation that they should read our minds still, because we're not going to say it. I think the reality would be that as guys, and we've agreed multiple times, but it seems like we sometimes kind of like don't understand when we're taking backward steps as well in the same conversation, where we've agreed that we should express our wants to
more.
women more.
Right.
And if we do that properly, I think that everything that we're saying kind of gets solved. If we actually do that part, and that's
not-
my only.
So-
And I'm not
Okay,
disagreeing, but what I'm
let
talking
me-
about is what
let me-
naturally happens. So, like, as an evolved man, a man that's consistently, I'm just talking about what as a natural response to your upbringing, a natural response to how you know what I mean, just naturally would handle things. I'm not talking about in a. But I like I said, in the perfect idea of thinking of it, yes, we should.
No, I
we
guess
do need
what
to
I'm saying
evolve
is-
our way of thinking.
Hey, random.
Right, and that kind
That
of
was going to go to my
Kyle has a question.
No, because this whole train of thought, to me, it seems like there's no growth. So at what point does the growth occur for you to have a successful
and that's
relationship?
why I said stepping stones. Like, because
Right.
of like, if we're only stuck on how we've been conditioned, and we know that that's not beneficial, and if we're like pretty much, I believe we kind of have a podcast that's based around the growth of the black male perspective, right? So then
No,
I
I mean,
think
hey.
we have to then start speaking about implementing what's going to be beneficial inside us actually growing these scenarios, and to where us as men, we do feel better validated. We do feel like what we feel is being heard inside a relationship.
So I got a question, like, and in between where me and Rail probably are at and you're at, like, how many times? Like, is there a certain amount of times you should repeat yourself, or I mean, is that just something you should?
But then do we offer that same grace to women though? Because they're like, the reality is that, and this is like my earlier point, is that we do still have to understand the fact that there are two people living, especially like if both people work, both people doing a bunch of different, both people got families, both people have a bunch of things on their brain, to where I know that I can easily get lost and forget to do some little things that my
That's why
partner
you
might
have
know.
a traditional job. Go ahead.
All right, but yeah, but yeah, I know that I can easily get lost.
Hey, bro.
Hey, that's exactly it.
Okay.
I don't want you worried about all that other shit. You know what I mean?
Nah, but
go
all right. So
ahead.
even if we go there, Johnny, you don't even agree with me being traditional. Shut up, bro. But even if truthfully though, like I can run that down that same lane of logic where even in a traditional setting, at times, especially boom, there's new kids introduced inside uh, a partnership or marriage inside a traditional household. The wife might now become so caught up inside a lot of things that come with the kids and shit to where she might forget to fulfill some of the things that she knows that you like. And I think that that's a really rational way of, and then just
Absolutely.
reminding because of, you know what I mean, getting up, like, well, shit, you have a newborn right now, but anybody that's had kids, like, that first year can be hell. And getting up at, you know what I mean, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the morning, barely getting sleep, and especially if you're just a person that's going through that same cycle, it's very easy to lose the actual wants of another person sometimes because you're just trying to like get by the day.
Yeah, just
Oh,
make
yeah,
And I
it
think
through.
that that's the grace in general with both sexes that it'll probably be better for us to do because the reality is that we're all human and we're all going to have to get redirected multiple times. I know I have to redirect and I know I get redirected multiple times.
And you know the crazy thing is that, well, not the crazy. I always say the crazy thing, but one of the things that I agree with you 100%. Right,
Okay.
I agree with you. What I was talking about was how the natural part, right?
Right.
So, and the
And I
thing
agree
is
with
that
I agree with that as well.
yeah. So the thing is though, and this is what I'm saying. Like, I think that relationships are really, well, a lot of relationships are going to be really rocky because what we're doing is we're asking for men to be something that they've never been in the past. So we're literally recreating the idea of being a man in today's time. And we're having to just like the whole thing, like we've been told, like, you acting like a woman, this old nagging. You men don't nag. You acting like a woman. So we're at this point. You're saying now that we have to become more vocal about what we need,
We
and
have
then
to-
continue
we have to act
to
like women.
reinforce that thing exactly. So you actually want men to be more like
But then
women
I say
in the aspect of where we're going to continuously push our thing on you, and then almost try to force the change. It's
So-
like we literally kind of set back more. It's natural. So that's the thing where it's like relationships. I think the marriage rate is going to continue to decrease. I think that the long-term relationships, the time span is going to continue to decrease.
Divorce
Because
rate.
the divorce rates continue to go up. It's specifically because we are actually at a point where we're trying to redesign and reframe what relationships should look like. And we're going to have to catch up to one another. We aren't there. We're going to have to catch up. That's literally the reason for like all of the
definitely agree with
disconnect
that
is that
shit, yeah.
this time period here is a shift in relationships in general to where men are asked to do things that they've never understood to actually think was a thing to do.
Shit that was
So how
shunned.
long?
Shit that was shunned.
Okay, so giving your train of thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how long do you stay in a relationship that doesn't satisfy you? Because if you're not communicating and you know, are growing up saying that, hey, I shouldn't communicate the way I feel.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not being communicated, your needs and wants aren't being fulfilled, and then you're just saying, oh, I'm just gonna coast it out till she break up with me. Do you not see that as a waste of your time? Like when you could have just broken up or had that conversation and moved on to somebody else.
Right. So the thing is, it all depends on how you weigh the pros and the cons. Right. So as a man, this thing could what you're bringing to the table. I'll hold the L on the rest of that shit. You know what I mean? I'll hold the L on the rest of that shit, even though I'm not happy. I'll hold the L on the rest of that shit, and that's just how we have done. I'm not saying that it's the correct answer. Like I said, we're getting to a place now where you see men are vocalizing how they feel, and it's going to be a lot more women getting broken up with than they've ever been in the past. But what I'm saying is that we naturally hold more of the, like, or at least me and the guys I know, hold the L's.
We built for
so
it.
it's like literally society has built us for that. So we're willing to. You can say how long does it take?
I ain't rolling.
Who's to say? Who's to say how long it would take? You know what I mean? Did you get married? If you got married, then you're probably going to hold this L a lot longer than the person
than
that
if y'all
didn't get married.
That just
That's
seems like
facts.
a miserable
It's
life.
just
to have
Yeah,
two
And
partners.
at the
and
same time, it could be like the thing is that I think like miserable is you can look at it in a
It's
way
coming.
you like it's miserable, but your life
It
your life
loves
is
company.
miserable is coming.
oh miserable is coming.
Miserable is
Oh,
coming.
right,
Oh
right,
yeah,
right.
that,
The thing
yeah.
is, it's
Hashtag miserable is
The
coming.
thing is that miserable is coming, but just because you're miserable now doesn't mean that you'll be miserable next month. That is the thing. See, like that's why people these 1 year, 2 year relationships, you ain't learned shit. You can think you learned shit and you just taking this bullshit on to the next relationship every time. And that's bull.
Doesn't
You
that
ain't learned
contradict
shit.
your point of like you learn something from every relationship.
Say again.
I think you stood on the stance that you learn something from every
No,
relationship.
no, you can't. I'm not saying you didn't. When I say that's a bad word, you did not learn shit. You did not learn shit. You know what I mean? Because of course, with every human interaction, you're gonna learn something. Period. So when I say you didn't learn shit, I'm saying that
Like about
that-
yourself?
No,
About yourself. That's the biggest thing.
that piece of endurance, that piece of endurance that it's going to take to have any relationship long term. You didn't learn that, and that is actually the thing that actually makes a relationship last. It's not love. It's not love. It's not It's literally the idea that you choose every day to stay. Because tomorrow is not going to be, it could be harder than today or it could be easier than today. I may hate you today and I may not want to talk to you. I really don't like you this year. Really? This year, this has been a fucked up year. I don't really like you like that. But at the end of the day, that don't mean that you, I think we run from, in relationships,
I'm talking about commitment.
man, people don't know nothing about
That's
that
what
shit
you're
these
talking about,
days, bro.
commitment.
But I
People don't know
also
nothing
think
about it, bro.
nowadays too, people are just like, I'm not going to sit here and spend my life like my grandmother spent with hers with somebody that she does not want to be with. So if this person if I've communicated with this person, we've had conversations, and I've given you time again and again to change, and I keep bringing it up to you. At a certain point, I'm going to cut my ties and keep it
But
moving.
at some point, you got to commit too, though. Like,
Well, I mean,
but my whole thing is, if you're not willing, if we're supposed to be growing together, right? And I'm telling you, hey, these are my concerns, and we've talked about it, and you're telling me, yeah, okay, I do agree that I'm going to work on that, and you're not working on it. Forget the commitment part. It's still the fact that my needs aren't being met. So the way this sounds is that, oh, long as the man needs are met, he's cool. But as a woman, my needs have to be met too, and if they're not,
he
then
was talking
I'm
about
gonna,
holding the L as a man, though.
Yeah, the
He was
thing-
talking about, like, as a man, your needs not being committed and staying in the relationship. He
You're
wasn't
literally going to do that
He wasn't talking about the
let me know
woman's.
when I can happen.
You can hop in now.
Yeah. Matter of fact, yeah.
I already
Bro, go ahead, Q.
I think that a piece of what. So yes, I think part of what you're saying I agree with, but I also would say that a piece of what you're saying goes to this idea as well of like understanding when it is important to stay in a relationship and leave a relationship. I think if the idea is that in general you're completely unhappy, there is a tap out point. If the idea is that I'm going to stay because I'm just committed and I'm unhappy over extended periods of time, I think that's not a thing that you should do. We've been conditioned as men probably that we should have to suffer, but in general, I don't think that you have to live a miserable life. So that I think it's important to kind of like understand that part. And there is its own delicate balance from being happy, chasing your happiness and finding your happiness in a relationship, and being a person that leaves a relationship extra quickly. But then there's also the thing of like becoming a mule where like you are completely unhappy for years and years and years, decades, and it like
Nothing happens.
nothing happens.
And my thing is, if
get
you push
that.
it to an extreme, then, but I'm talking about just general, like regular people. Generally, you're not going to just be miserable for 10 years. Generally, like, first off, generally, relationships don't last 10 years. Actually, the average marriage lasts 8 years. At 30, in our age bracket, the average marriage lasts 8 years. So, and that was Google. I Googled that shit.
Shout out Google.
You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, like that's not what I'm talking about. If you take it to an extreme, then I understand what you're saying. But it generally, when I said a year, I wasn't even thinking that. I was like maxing out. Like I was actually being like exaggerative when I said it. A year of being unhappy. Because generally, if you in a relationship where if you're in a relationship where you care about the other person and the other person cares about you, if there's any lick of selflessness within, which hopefully you're gonna get with somebody that has some ounce of some selflessness in them. If you decide to change the vibrations of the house, she would probably reciprocate that, and she would do, because you know what I mean. That's just
Sometimes
that's just
not.
generally. And
I've been
sometimes
in
not.
and I've been in enough relationships to where like there are bad partners as well,
There
in
are.
which some people are selfish and I'm not going to be a person to advocate for somebody to stick out with a person that is quote unquote toxic, that is selfish, that has a lot of like really bad characteristics, and those things don't change over an extended period of time of you as a guy.
I mean, I get that.
Voicing that.
You don't want
And
nobody to be like,
I just don't believe that as a guy, you just have to hold quote unquote the figurative L. I think that in a healthy partnership, and this might go to the reason why the Google stats say marriages last 8 years, is that we are also inside a time in which each person inside a relationship kind of like has a little bit more understanding and of what makes them happy. And people in today's time also seek happiness at a higher level.
people today have more autonomy than like in the past. So like
You have more
you
information,
you,
too.
You wouldn't ask we go back to like our grandparents, like our grandmothers and our grandfathers. You wouldn't ask our grandmothers to stay with our grandfathers if they wouldn't, shit in today's age. If our grandfathers was assholes, we wouldn't ask grandmama to stay with old buddy for 60 years if he was an asshole. Like, I get that part, but at some point we do need each other, and commitment is important. And it's like you say, it's that delicate balance. So you do have to understand like what you're willing to deal with, what you're willing not to deal with, what you're willing to go through, what you're willing not to go through. But at some point, if we're gonna have these long lasting relationships, it's gonna be some point of compromise. You're not gonna be happy.
There you go.
365 days out the year
Facts.
for years
Right.
on end. So you do have to realize, okay, this is something that I would be willing to go through. This is something I wouldn't be willing to go through.
Right.
And so I think that's the bigger thing as far as, because like I seen my grandparents. I don't know, what happened 50 years ago between my grandparents, but my grandparents stuck it out. They was married 63 years. So a long ass fucking
long
time.
It also goes just to communication.
Just communication also goes to just like autonomy. Like nowadays, we know what we like and what we don't like. We get in the information age,
and
I
so
think that-
this is
we
what-
do have to have some kind
let me
of
just close- let me close real
commitment,
quick by
some
saying
kind of thing.
I just want to close by saying this. Let's understand and have reasonable expectations. We have to actually understand what reasonable is.
Well, that divorce rates, lack of divorce, and then we also know like the quote unquote idea is that women initiate most divorces, but it's a misleading statistic.
It is a misleading statistic
because
because men
of
tap out.
more times than not men are tapping
tap
out,
Right.
and then that goes right back to like another piece. So that was talking about in the sense of like verbalizing your wants and needs, and then that being a part of today's relationships, in which is why a lot of shit don't work, and then a lot of shit don't get fixed, and it's its own different little version of a cycle.
You saying
where-
men got to figure out how to nag, right? Properly nag.
No, it's not even
Right,
that. Like,
but I
That
think
was a joke. That was a joke.
Yo, catch the joke?
I get the joke.
Okay.
But
You didn't laugh though.
because no, I think it's fair, but I'm only not laughing because of I think that it deflects from the actual realness of it, and where as guys we can't. It's hard to sit and say that we need to express ourselves, and we can articulate what the problem is, but then when it comes down to the idea of executing it, we're so uncomfortable doing it that now we have to dismiss it as a joke. And I think that to an extent is it because
that
of,
wasn't what was happening though.
That's a fair point. I mean, I was just making a joke. I was just making a
but
joke
that's what I felt
like.
about the
I felt
way,
like you were
but
just
I
making
wasn't
a joke.
dismissing
Exactly.
the
no, but
fact
we
of
said
like
that earlier in the pod too when it came down to the nagging. We said like literally the word nagging early in the pod.
Yeah.
And when it came to men expressing and the idea of like guys actually, saying what the issue is and then re-saying it a couple times, the general perspective of it is that it's nagging. But if as men we eventually want to be treated better and have better partners, it's a part that we have to step into inside a healthy enough space.
No,
Yeah,
that's fact.
I agree, and I don't
That's
think that, bro.
facts.
If
I
you
ain't
notice,
mad
like
at you.
you're talking about that shift that you're speaking from the shift you're speaking like from the perspective of like the shift already happening. You know what I mean? You have a mind that's like you thinking
He
you're
10
not like
steps
a
ahead of these
traditional.
niggas.
You're not like thinking in any type of traditional realm of thinking. You're thinking in a modern understanding, like the equal. You know what I mean? Like all of the you're pretty much
So
taking away all of the.
He's
No, I get that,
he's
but
a
here's my
modern
question
ass
to you.
nigga.
Yeah,
So-
he's
so
like
real.
a super modern dude. Like
So real.
he's super modern.
What's going to make you feel better though? Like
What do you
like when it comes
No,
down to
what I was
being,
just thinking
being
about-
heard, being felt, like you
Yeah.
being like just over a long term relationship,
Mm-hmm.
feeling like it is an equitable, happy scenario.
Yeah, no. Only thing for me,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really take a lot. Which I'm not going. Even though I understand like the idea, like you, I'm not going to keep talking about the same thing over and over. That's me. I'm just not a guy that just wants to. Because first off, if we're going to have a serious conversation, I'd rather it be like, and I was just thinking while you were talking, I was like, probably what you would have to do is like set up a time period and everybody, and we both on the same page that when whatever this span of time, we're actually going to sit down and talk about
It ain't
where
gotta
we
be
are.
all of that. I mean, it
intentionally.
could just be sometimes just a, hey, look, I need this.
No, but
it
hold
ain't
on,
even gotta be all of that.
Hold on, what I was saying is that like at the end of the day, the only way I could think of it like where it's not like I definitely wouldn't do it in the way in which I feel like women generally do it. It would literally have to be like we're gonna sit down every Sunday and we gonna
But that would be
figure
more
out
like nagging versus just saying it. Like
no,
whenever
I
you
think
feel
I
it.
think that just yeah,
Me
when you feel it, because by the time I actually feel the need to actually push the point, now it's probably going because first off, you probably gonna get defensive because of the way that I'ma say it, just based on the way that I feel when I'm saying it. So it's not gonna be productive.
But that's
All right,
why.
so when you're upset, you just say it, you don't think about how that person could internalize it.
No, I do. But what I'll say is that I try to, but it obviously it's not necessarily working. You know what I mean? I try to present it in a way. I even like figured out. I mean, it's funny. Me and Marquette, me and Ket was talking about how like as a man in a relationship, Marquette, you know, he been married like 23 years.
then
He
he
was talking
been-
about how you got to
he a
goddamn
OG.
bend around, go in the back door when you trying to tell her about herself, like what you want. You got to goddamn go around the house behind the bush in through the back door. So what he was saying,
But that's
like, I
old
tried
school.
it.
That's old school.
No, but hold on too, bro. I
Yeah.
tried it. Like what it is like I'll be like, I'll paint a fictitious scenario and make it not about us so that I can say what I was trying to say and for you not to internalize it like it's about you. So but you still get my point. So but I still have to go around the corner and goddamn in
Yeah.
through the back door.
I think that's like
So
one of
it's
the
not
worst ways
Hey,
of
defensive.
communication.
fellas, let's go.
No,
Think Big L and Taj got something.
What's
so
up?
I'm gonna just say something and pass the mic to Big L. But I know that me and Q were having this conversation the other day about like when you're delivering negative feedback to your partner, you want to make sure that you're also delivering positive feedback as well, because it's easy for people to always point out the negative, the negative, negative. You're not doing this, you're not doing that, I need more of this, instead of, hey, I actually like when you do X, Y, Z. So I think
smart.
having like somewhat of a balance of giving good feedback and negative feedback makes the
Mic
person
drop.
more receptive to changing whatever that behavior is, because they do feel like they're valued in
That's
their
Agreed.
but that's
Agreed.
that's
For
a
the good
communication key though. Like if you're
Yeah.
a coach and you're trying to get somebody like to
Change their
do
behavior.
better, you tell them, hey, look, when you like, but yeah, it's just communication.
Yeah, no, I like that.
I just had an idea. So I know y'all were talking about nagging. What do you think about having like a relationship check-in? Like a 6-month relationship check-in or
I think that's healthy.
and then
That should-
literally
yeah, that
just
would
like
work.
having
That
your
would-
backs, you know, facing each other, I guess. Is that how you explain it? Like your backs are turned against each other and just really, so you don't see each other and just really open up
Oh, I
and
ain't even-
express
okay,
something.
yeah, that's-
Because, and I'm just thinking
This is a
like if
real
you had like a
that's
situation
a
where you
real
really couldn't tell
exercise.
your spouse or your partner how you really felt. And you tell them in that moment, then maybe they can really like internalize what happened and really think about it without seeing your reaction or seeing your face. And then they can really process what you're saying because they're actually listening.
I think that'll help for a lot of men.
No matter kind of which way you kind of do the exercise, what Big L gave us, I think that's a really beautiful one. But being intentional about actually checking in probably is really, really good. If I reflect to just a younger version of me, those were the conversations that I ran from a lot of times. Like when you laying down and be like, so how do you actually really feel about this? And I'm giving like these one word answers and these short little Jones.
Because a lot of times when
prep
we were
me
younger,
for
people would like to have the relationship check-ins at inconvenient times. Though.
Well,
Like that was that's a part of it. Like we,
but now like if we take a step back now, was it only inconvenient for us? That might have been at a breaking space for them, where like
I mean,
things
hey,
had built up to
that
a
could
spot, and like I kind of gotta like because I can think of like a relationship that
nah, you might be right. Because
but at the
I
same
might just be
time,
thinking of it from my point of view.
no, at the same time, that's why I said like having an intentional time for it, because at the end of the day, when it comes out, like you can't just because you want to have a conversation doesn't mean that I'm in the head space to have it. So you literally, and that's I think that's another problem that we deal with in relationships. It's like just because you feel like talking about this don't mean that I'm in the mouth. Maybe I'm thinking about
Or it don't even mean that you don't want to talk about it. It's just
time.
I can't do it right now.
Like my
So
headspace where I'm at right now is
Yeah.
not where I should be to actually, you know what I mean, make this be as productive as it
but
should
I think
be.
that
So,
should be communicated because I've been only
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah,
and having
that's what I'm
communicate that I'm still
yeah.
interested in having the conversation,
like
just not right
me,
now.
right?
And
Give
then
me give me
also-
time to wake up.
Yeah,
go to sleep
yeah,
type
just-
shit.
just
and,
not
and I guess
right
that's
now.
where I was getting at. Is the
Yeah,
fact that
nah, that
I
makes
know that
sense.
in the past, those have been the conversations that I've ran from.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think a previous podcast, I've kind of spoken through that in general. The deficits in a relationship that I just got out of, I try and make it a strength inside the next one. Right? And like it becomes its own little thing inside, like each relationship being its own progression. But like if and this is where I also go back to the idea of as guys, it is important for us to let the woman, if we're unhappy in a relationship and we need to tap out and give the actual critique, because it gives whether they take it or not, it gives them a space to grow from. And so like I've embraced that part as well. When I've gotten the critique, I can step away after a little bit. Like when you first breaking up in some shit, usually you're probably emotions high and you ain't really trying to hear everything. It's a little cloudy. But when you can sit down, then if you could probably piece together a couple things that people have told you over a span of time and the consistencies of it, then it really gives you a blueprint to really start working on something.
Will it validate the other opinion? You be like,
That
oh
true.
shit, like
That too.
she wasn't lying. I am this way.
such and such.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. Because a lot of times it'll be some shit that you will never see specifically, but if enough people that don't know each other say something consistently, it's probably something for you to reflect and look internally about.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just gonna give another example of because like I said, Marquette, he's been married longer than anybody that I know.
Hey, shout out to the boy Marquette,
Nah,
man.
shout
He
out my
came
bro,
up,
bro.
Man, he gave us some good content, man.
Yeah, he
was a
gonna pull back up, man.
He
When
was
I
a
tell
really
you,
good guest,
I
man.
like wise men. You know what I mean? And I noticed that there's something about me that I wasn't as intentional, but subconsciously I was intentional, but like I didn't really realize how intentional I was about like choosing people that I want to talk with at extended length.
Okay.
So like, but he was talking about how him and his old lady, he started doing a joint where he was like, I want to talk to my friend. Like, you know what I mean? He intentionally told her, like, I don't want to talk to my wife right now. I want to talk to my friend. So I want to be able to talk to my friend and get this off as a friend. And, you know what I mean? Let's just disassociate that whole relationship portion of it. Take it as you know what I mean? Take it as,
Compartmentalized. You
yeah,
gotta,
like
I think that's a very valuable tool that people.
yeah,
don't
and so he
use.
said like that he would ask her that, and she would initially it may not be taken as
serious.
you know what I mean as serious initially, but like they would actually when he says it, they'll go ahead and take some time, they may smoke or something, you know what I mean, and actually just sit and talk for a minute. And they start out the conversation. He said, like, based on the way he described the conversation, it starts out like talking about what your initial point is, but then in that friend space and mindset, then you end up talking about things that become a lot less heavy. You know what I mean? It could get to a point to where we laugh like we did when we were friends.
Well, it become bigger than just you and her.
Yeah.
You
So like
know.
that, when he said, I was like, man, nah, that's a dope concept too. You know what I mean?
No, thanks. I think well, two things. Well, one, what you're saying goes to the concept. Big K might have said this inside like one of her answers about 2 takeaways from a relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Where she said that being in a relationship with somebody that I could see myself being friends with is a very, very important thing. Two, I don't know if this is kind of like moving the conversation inside a different way, but I recently did, when you was talking about like friends and relationships and shit like that, I was listening to a conversation with, it was like a neuroscientist, and he was like speaking on a podcast where so it was a conversation with a neuroscientist, and he was speaking on a podcast in which he was having this, well, he was talking about being married and being in relationships, and kind of like this little back and forth thing that you have to do, where he was speaking of especially long-term relationships is almost its own delicate dance of objectification and friendship. And like inside a romantic relationship, you kind of like dance between both of them. And you're speaking of how sometimes even like objectification is beneficial inside a relationship. That's the attraction piece, right? Where at times like you can be really at a friendship level with a person to where like you almost don't see them as like you just see them purely as a friend, and that's good, right? There's also a space where like you still want your partner to be attracted to you, and like you still have like that part to it. And he was speaking about how just in the mind, like it's this back and forth dance that with him he tries to do, and I don't know. I'm just throwing it out
Well,
there.
nah, like
I thought it was an interesting conversation and perspective that I just let sit in my brain for a
no,
little
that's
bit.
deep. Because for me, what I be looking for as far as when I think about love and relationships, I want somebody that I'm just as attracted to as a friend that I am physically. And so, like, if I can look at you and be like, you bad as hell, but I also look at you and be like, damn, you a good friend. That's like what I be
Yeah, that
looking
sounds
for
like
as
that.
as like a partner. So that's like that
Because
balance
there's the
that you
part where
gotta
like
find.
everybody does still want to feel wanted,
Facts, yeah.
and everybody also still wants to have that person that you can say any and everything to. You know what I mean? That you can really be your most genuine self with. Vulnerable. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another good word.
And then that's the thing. And not even based on like the relationships that I've seen. I think that sounds really good. I think that it's a lot tougher. Implementation is a lot tougher, and I'd say that like the well, damn, y'all throwing me off. Okay, so the thing is that long term relationship is that the time it is that's like the most that's the piece that actually where people waver on. It's the time. It's not necessarily like have you ever like I remember when I was in high school. I had a friend that was actually like a really close friend girl that I you know what I mean, and I thought that maybe we should date.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I tried the shit. You know what I mean?
Didn't work. Didn't
At
work.
all. Like it didn't work at all. And it was kind of I was so mad that I even tried it because
You done ruined the friendship,
it could have ruined the friendship
Yeah,
that was
fact.
more valuable than even the
the
attempt.
relationship.
You know what I mean? So like it sounds good and I'm not what I'll say is that like thing about long-term relationships is that you all are going to continue to change. And continue to change. Like think about yourself 10 years ago. You know what I mean? The person that you were 10 years ago, there's no way that you would probably want to date the same type of person or the same person that you dated 10 years ago. So the
Okay.
thing about it is that
That's why friendship
that
is
piece,
important.
and that's what I was about to say, like that friendship piece may actually be the answer, even though that's probably the hardest part to maintain. That piece there may be the actual answer. And I guess that because it's the hardest part to maintain, that is exactly the reason why most don't last. Because first off, do many start as friends? And then also, does that friendship, you know what I mean? That it takes a lot of work to keep a friendship amongst, like, especially with all of the things that go into an actual relationship, as you know what I mean. And the friendship, see, the friendship part, that's not the hardest part when you're not in a relationship. But when you're in a relationship, those extra stressors
Mas sempre tá
and things actually make that friendship piece a little harder to actually consistently, you know what I
lean
mean?
into.
Yeah, that.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely get that though. But yeah, what you got?
This
Big
reminded me
Taj?
of a show that I was watching, and it was a married couple, and she said a piece of advice that she received was, "Don't let roommate issues get in the way of your marriage." So, like,
Roommate issues.
That's
yeah. So
hard.
think about like you're living with someone, right? And the little things that come up from like whether it's
We're
like the
just living with
cleanliness-
each other.
Yeah. She was
No,
like,
that's
"Don't let
dope.
those issues ruin your marriage." So when you guys were talking about like just ways to keep a relationship going, that popped in my mind.
No, that's dope. What you had, Q? You sound like you had something on your chest.
I did, but
Oh,
I also suffer from like being absent-minded and forgetting shit.
Oh, so-
so that one's lost.
Well, shit, I'll throw it to the audience for comments.
There we go. I think Big Dog might have one. For
Yeah, hey, tell us something, man. Tell
All right,
us
cool.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah, we live. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Fuck it, do it live.
All right, we was talking about I guess just like looking at past traumas and things like that.
Okay.
Like I don't really watch Love and Hip Hop, things like that, but being on social media, you're gonna see it. It was a scene where I guess Scrappy and his mom, he was talking about how
I
like
saw that.
past traumas that he's dealing with. Like,
That was
I
a
guess
good.
how
That was a
true
good moment.
do you believe that is?
Say it again.
Like, how true do you believe like past traumas from when you're a child to you're a man? Do you think they carry over?
I mean, I think that go down to how well you deal with them. Cause I mean, I think if you hadn't dealt with them, they are gonna like present themselves
Yeah.
more and more in your present. But if you're a person that, if you do the work, it don't necessarily have to. It don't have to
You don't have to be
define you. It
imprisoned
don't have
to
to
it.
define your present. But you gotta do that work though. If you haven't done the work, it will. It is gonna show up. It is gonna present itself when it's most inconvenient. But if you do the work to get past that, you be all right. It's all about doing that work, and all of us got work to do too. So it ain't just
So I just
On
have a
that.
question. Y'all know I don't be in tune. So how was the conversation? So Lil Scrappy was talking to his moms.
Yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
I think
you,
that
you know who Mama D is.
probably.
Yeah.
Oh, you do.
She wow.
Yeah.
Like that's Scrappy's mama, but he was having a conversation with all the stuff, the life that you lived. He was basically telling her how it affected him. The life
Right.
that she
So
lived.
I guess if I can kind of give a quick synopsis to my understanding, again, I'm not a heavy like.
I ain't watched the whole
person.
thing, but that was just
But
my-
I do kind of understand. Well, inside that clip, they kind of explained it where
Yeah.
he was saying like, and she was a drug dealer, she was a pimp,
Okay.
and it was all kind of different people coming in and out the house, and he dealt with and seen so much shit as a kid
Yeah.
or whatnot, and he was put inside so many different scenarios as a kid to where you know what I mean it impacts his current day shit. And if I'm not mistaken, that's kind of like what that scene
Now he
was.
was just breaking it down. He was like, the person I am is a product of that environment.
Yeah, no, and I don't think you can. I understand what you saying. Do the work, and you know what I mean. To me, that sound good. You know what I mean. That sounds good. So
Now look at him. You got to attack him.
Yeah,
Attack
come
him.
on, bro. I'm right here. I'm right
you
here,
talking
big dog. I'm right here, big dog.
rearrange my goddamn shit real quick. Yo, nah, but to me, that it sounds
You about
good.
to give me a lecture mitt for Newton, goddamn.
No, it sounds good. See, but the thing is that at the end of the day, just think about how many years of unlearning that is. You said and do the work. The work sound good. I understand as an individual, you can change your trajectory based on how you perceive, and you know what I mean. At the end of the day, though, no, call her out. That's some shit. At the end of the day, that's some shit. You deserve to hold your L's for allowing him to be a part of that environment.
But what I-
for
but-
showing him, and I understand that as a person, you're gonna have to be an adult.
But I think him calling him out was a product of years of that work, though. The fact that he even realized, I'm this way
Because
of the shit that you went to, and then he didn't call her out like it wasn't like a vicious thing. It was
Yeah.
like, "Mama, I love you,
But
but I am this way because of you.
Yeah.
And so, like, but that does show, like, work. It is years of work. I don't think he got to that point overnight.
And just think about
like
how
it was
much-
years of work, and ain't nobody taking away from the work. You know, it might be you might have to put 5-10 years work. If you went through 20 years of trauma, you might have to put 5 years, 10 years worth of work of therapy to get to a spot where you neutral though. I mean, so like I don't think it was anything to where he came to that realization overnight.
Yeah.
I think he did put the work in, and that's
Right.
why he was able to say the shit the way he did say it. So
Um,
it do sound good, and it's a lot, and it is a lot of work. I don't want to discount that to where it's not like it ain't something that's easy or like it's gonna happen overnight for anybody. But I think we all owe it to ourselves, and we all deserve a better life, and we all deserve like to live the best life. So you do owe it to yourself to do it. Fuck me, fuck your mom, fuck everybody else. You owe it to yourself to do that work to live the best life you can live. So
That
Right.
accountability, God, that accountability, that piece right
accountability.
there, and then like and my bad, I'm gonna shut up in just a second. I think that like, and I was watching, I can't remember what show it is. It's a older black lady that's doing it. I've been seeing it a couple of times come around, and she's talking
talking
to
about the doctor,
she's short hair.
yeah,
She was speaking to a mother about the way that she is. She was saying like her son ain't this, her son ain't that, and then so she was talking. She was talking about him in the present, and he ain't this, he ain't that, and just down talking him. And then when she was asking him, you sitting here saying all this about him, what do you think that does to him? What do you think the byproduct of that is? So like, and then we hear people talk about like, oh, they did their best. Honestly, I don't think I ever did my best. I always think I could have done better. Even as a parent right now, I'm sitting here like I critique myself every day. Like, bro, you could still be doing better. I don't think that, oh, they did their best. Bro, don't scapegoat it though. Don't use it as a scapegoat to run or not address the fact that you was doing what you was doing.
I mean,
that you allowed them to see what you allowed them to see. That you weren't being intentional about this and that. So hold it. I think that piece of accountability needs to be placed
there.
where it needs to be placed. And we have to understand that just because I ain't saying that nobody's perfect.
but just because they ain't do their best, you don't think or just because they ain't live up to their full potential or did like the best they could have did in a vacuum, you don't think they did the best they could have did within the circumstances that they had?
I'm speaking on
Like,
myself. Like I don't feel like any day I did the best that I could have done. Like yesterday, that wasn't the best I could have done
well, why not?
because I could have done better.
So you ain't never gave your.
That's a really
But I'm
tough
saying, but you ain't.
perspective to walk around in life
Hey,
with.
hey, Ray,
that's
hey, Ray,
just
you ain't never gave your best no days. Ain't a single day out here that you
I can
gave
say
your
in the
best.
military, I remember giving
You
my
ain't-
best in the military.
Everybody get their best, bro. Like
Yeah,
so,
nah.
it could be.
I don't
Because in
think
order
that
to give
everybody
your
gives
best, you
their
got to be intentional
But,
the whole day to
I mean,
do
real
that
people
intentionally
get their
all
best,
day.
bro. Real people. So you saying you ain't never gave your? You said what? What you just said?
I said that when I was in the military, I could see days where I pushed myself past where I thought I could do. And then those type of things did happen. But like in regular life, I can't sit here and say that was a day where I intentionally sat there all day and was thinking, I'm gonna do this to make the strongest. I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Think about everything I say before I say it. Every time I interact with somebody, I'm gonna think about this interaction prior
Nobody
to it.
does that though. That's an
No, but that's what I'm
unrealistic.
saying.
That's an
At the end of the
unrealistic
day,
standard.
Hey, my thing is that
Like your best ain't got to be an unrealistic standard. It could be just the best that you're capable of giving.
No,
It
I
might
get
not
it.
even be perfect. Like best and perfect are two different things. You ain't
Yeah.
got to be
Facts.
perfect
Yeah.
to like give your best, and even your best may not be perfect.
Yeah,
So
but
like
I'm
you
feeling
can't
like-
sit down there and be like, oh, well, I could have been perfect.
Yeah, no.
Even though I gave, if you give all that you got, everything that you got, that's your best.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
real. I would say that I understand the concept of what you're saying and what you're doing. I also would say that that's probably
Unhealthy.
unhealthy.
And I get it.
Yeah. So Newton kind of like said everything that I would kind of say. So I don't want to kind of beat the dead horse with it, but I would tell you to kind of like sit and think about that, and you know, what I mean, reflect on it. That there is an unhealthy piece to like having that high of a level of expectation, in which if you believe that you as a man walk inside a straight line in general, then there is something to kind of like hold the day to day with that. Where like we can all say that there's parts of where we can do better in something, but in general, that day, did you do your best at what you know as a parent or as a father or whatever inside that scenario at that moment?
At
And
that
were you
moment,
in pure heart of actually really trying to do that? More times than not, like the answer probably be yes. Is there a critique to have at some part where we all misstep? Yes, but there's also the experience of learning,
But
in
nah.
which we have to give ourselves grace inside that.
hey Q,
Yeah, and I
And
did-
hey Q, what I was gonna say, random, but
it's random.
given
Not random.
this ain't random.
right,
This ain't
hey
random.
nigga, shut up. Let
This
me go.
ain't random.
This nigga interrupted you to say it's.
That's all.
I'm about to
That's
say
all I
shit.
wanted. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. But if you got character and integrity with what you're doing, and if you're doing what you want to do based on your heart, what you know is the best. That's the best you can do. Now, of course, all of us, like if you got more information or you got more resources, there's more. Of course, there's more that you could do. But based on your situation, like what Q said, in the moment, using the knowledge and the resources that you had, if you made the best decision to the best of your ability and within a clear heart, thinking that I'm doing the best, that's all you can do. Like, of course, you can look back hindsight and be like, oh, I could have did this, but that's like that ain't got nothing to do with giving your best. That's perfectionism, and like you don't want to like hinder yourself with trying to be, a perfection. Cause we all ain't nobody perfect, bro. We all fuck up. We all got everything. So
You know the crazy thing is that y'all put me in a box. I appreciate the box. The point that I was making was a little bit aside from it, but that was appropriate. It was necessary for me to hear, because I literally even though my intention was to kind of speak about like on the more of like I've it's certain people when this conversation came up. It's certain people that I thought of when I hear you did your best. Oh, I'm doing my best, and I know it's not.
Right.
So
I
like
think
that was
that's
really
the
what I
different
was trying to
scenario.
talk about. But also I do hold myself and critique myself at a place to where like I don't know, like I literally feel like I could always be doing better. I could always do better. I could always handle that scenario in a better way. And like you're saying, the part that really stuck was that the fact that at the end of the day you did it from a clear heart. You know what I mean? Your intention, my heart's always in a place that I want to. You know what I mean? I want whatever said thing is to be the best at it. You know what I mean? My intention is always going to be for the best, and that's why.
So you change your heart based on gaining more attention. It don't mean that you didn't do your best that day. It's just I've grown more and I see it differently now. But it don't mean that you didn't. Like I don't ever like to. I don't. You want to. I look up to you, big dog. I don't ever want to see you like down on yourself over not doing the best that you could. Cause I look up to you as like, shit, bro. I'm trying to at least do that. When I say everything you to do for your family and shit, like that's what I want to be for my family. So I ain't trying to be on no,
Yeah.
like super crazy shit. But it's just like, yeah, nah, you gotta really like, you can't hold yourself to too perfect of a standard. Cause like,
Yeah.
I look at niggas like y'all and I'll be like, shit, if I could at least do that, we good.
I guess what I would add to that is that, what I mean, sometimes we have to make sure that we're not only looking at life through first person. And with Johnny, it's like the small flowers that he get. What's like a small little flower plant?
Shit, you
I don't
actually
know.
asked him. They
What's
you
like
got the women in the room. They
He
may
gave
know.
Jeremy like small flowers. Right? Just was like,
Succulents are small.
pause.
No, we ain't doing this.
Hey yo,
That's a crazy.
hey yo,
Succulents are aloe vera.
hey yo.
Johnny, you gave him some.
No, it didn't give me no fucking.
Chill out. I ain't get that
Look at
nigga.
that.
I ain't get that nigga nothing.
Okay, dandelions. We'll go with dandelions.
All right, there.
I appreciate it.
Way to give him some dandelions. I think that was good. But
See how they try to do me for being cool?
Succulents are aloe vera. They're all
They try to do your boy, bro.
Yeah, that was messed up, bro.
They say
so
some succulent.
They done with the glizzies and all kinds of shit over there. I don't know what's going on
these
with them.
niggas.
No, just throw the whole thing out the window.
So what I would say is just to kind of bring the conversation back full circle. Um, the question was about your trauma shaping you as the person that you are. Yes, I think that in general your traumas do. But I'm also not necessarily like the biggest person that leans heavy on this whole victim mentality of like, oh, my traumas is all the reason why I did these things.
Yeah.
Where I think that in general, the person that you are is through the experiences that you've had.
Sure.
So yes, whatever like the good and bad of your childhood are things
Damn, that's so
that
crazy.
shaped you as a person. But I would also then leverage the fact of like, what perspective do you take from it? Right. So you could have been put inside the toughest scenarios, and depending on your perspective will shape everything.
Well, no, that
Like
shit go down.
you can walk with the victim mentality of like, this shaped me and I'm so bad and I can't get over this whole hump, or you could use that as like iron to where like
Level up.
yeah, I went through
You
this
put
shit
that shit on.
exactly,
You put
and
that shit on when it come down to.
And-
Cause now that was one of the questions I had.
Yeah.
Like I had, cause it was like how much of it is what happens to us versus how we react to it.
Yeah.
And
how
I
we
don't even
interpret
think
it.
we ever, or how we interpret it, cause like shit happened to all of us. Now some people that wither, you know, they get the pressure bust pipes. It also make diamonds. So you gotta figure out like.
Send my nigga over.
You know, it could also, you know, I seen the egg shit, you know, it could bust an egg or it can boil an egg too. So it's just like however you want to look at that shit, you know, the pressure do whatever you let it do to you. So if you of good mind, it's going to make a diamond. You know, you're going to put all that pressure on your back and, you know, you're going to come out shining. Or you could also be some water pipes and you put too much pressure on it's going to bust. And you're going to flood the whole house. So you gotta figure out, you know, it's about who you are and like what you are. And like I know my
intentionality.
people, bro. Like pressure make my people better. Pressure make me better. You know, it's something I even said since like basketball. Pressure busts pipes, but it also make diamonds. So you gotta figure out what you gonna be.
And,
so yeah, I don't know. Does anybody else have a?
I thought that was
space up?
pretty crazy. You. Oh no, let's kick it to Big L.
Oh, you got another question?
What's up, Big
Okay,
L?
all right.
Throw it a mic.
I wanted
My
to
bad, my bad.
piggyback.
Time for the slap shit out you.
What happened?
Ty's,
Your face.
Ty's gonna run up on me after the show. My bad.
Oh, she was hot about that. He raised his voice. His decibels was too high, wasn't it?
My bad.
I can
My
tell.
bad.
I want to piggyback to the conversation that y'all had earlier. So my question was, or my question is, and I guess it's like a two-part question. So what helps you stay motivated in your current relationship? Or if you're single, what will inspire you to stay motivated in your relationship?
That's a good question.
Q.
Oh, y'all want me to leave this? All right. What helps you stay motivated inside your current relationship? I'm gonna just kind of freestyle it as I go and kind of figure it out as I talk. I'd say one would probably be the growth. I see heavy potential, and I like the space that we're at and we're going, and the different facets that I've seen the relationship in. I think that the good and the bad, there's all been like really positive takeaways that I can run with. Motivated in a relationship. I think that having a partner that we have a very similar perspective. I say it to her all the time where I say that I can leave her in a room and not have to worry about anything. Like in general, like matter of fact, I think this would be a better way to explain it. So like we'll be at like different little gatherings and different shit like that. And sometimes people will project their insecurities inside their relationship upon yours. Right? And so like they'll throw these different little things out. In which with me and her, we've talked about almost, especially just given the pod, it's so many different pieces that most people haven't even thought to unpack.
We in that bitch
to where
this.
like there's a lot of like understanding to where it's nothing that she's going to say out of her mouth that I don't really agree with, because we've already talked through this and have had like a multiple levels of understanding when it came to it. And same with her and me, to where like that succinctness is definitely something that motivates me inside the relationship, where there's a partner in which I don't know, like I think that we kind of are running parallel races. So yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. I'm gonna let you go, Johnny, because I'm still
Your boy
trying to figure it out.
still tabulating the answer.
I was
over here.
actually it taking in information,
Taking in.
not thinking. I was, you know what I mean. I was
That's
trying to-
that's all I was doing too. I was taking it in.
I just want to let y'all know that this is what we call a stalling technique.
Exactly.
By both of these niggas.
No.
Both of these niggas. I don't know what to say right now.
Hey, let me finish, dog, because I was gonna hop into mine. I'm not stalling at all. I'm not stalling.
go.
I'm gonna hop into mine.
Good.
But what I was gonna say is, she was talking about motivation. I'm single. I ain't got no that. She said inspiration, but what inspires me is like that same shit, bro. I want to be able to have that like congruentness, succinctness. You know, as far as like,
Look at this nigga. Go ahead, Johnny. I'm listening.
the chemistry, all whatever words you want to put on it.
Come on, you got keep going some more 3 syllables. Those 3 syllable words. What
Hey,
you got?
bro. Hey, I already took the SAT, man. You can go check my scores, bro.
Hey,
I ain't gotta brag on nobody, bro. They already know what I
All right,
do.
go back to it. Keep going.
But what I was saying, what inspired me is just like you say, just that like that chemistry. Like I want somebody, and I want to build something to where like it be that unconditional, like that family type of love, to where like she understand me, I understand her, and there ain't no walls up, it ain't nothing like hiding that. It's just true vulnerability, and amongst us, and then when we get out there in the world, it ain't nothing that can break that, because we done built that.
In the ground,
We done built that, fort or wall amongst our relationship through the conversations we had. So when we get out there in the world, it ain't nothing that can really fuck that up. There ain't nothing that can really get through, because we done built that defense mechanism. We done talked about all that shit. We done did that. And that's, to me, for a relationship, especially the older I get, I done had relationships with the bad joints, or all that, where like it ain't like that ain't always what it need to be. It ain't always where it's at, bro. It might be it's always somebody that might be a little better for you that you might not necessarily think is the one based on the outside noise. But if you really listen to yourself,
Hey, Johnny, I can pick your brain real quick.
My nigga Tone say straight joints the new bad joints.
Straight joints, the new bag.
that boy like sevens.
That's what he told me. That's what he told me. I remember that we had that conversation. Yeah, he said the straight joints is the new bad joints.
All right. Jared.
Oh yeah,
Go
nah.
ahead.
Hey, you said what motivates me in a relationship?
Now this is stalking.
Yeah, no, this is not stalling. This is thinking. The difference. There's definitely a difference. This is thinking. What is it that? What I'll say is just the growth in itself. I like what you said. What you said, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Somebody could have played a violin while you were saying that shit.
QB having bars. I ain't gonna lie.
You ain't shit. What I was saying was the growth aspect of it. As we already know, you know what I mean. I've kind of been in this particular relationship for quite some time, and I think that what inspires me is like the how I want to say the strength the strength in both individuals in the children. You literally learn so much, and you're forced to see yourself along the way in so many different ways, to where it pretty much just promotes growth. and literally the acceptance of responsibility and what accepting responsibility, like I said, growth. The acceptance of responsibility along the way actually pushes you to a whole nother place. And and I guess that motivates me because of the, and like you said, the potential. What where it could, where I see, not even where it could, where it will go. You know what I mean? And then knowing that 100% of that is really based on intentionality and decision making that is really on the backs of us. You know what I mean? It's not really all of these outside sources and things. It's really just what we
Y'all built it.
decide is, you know what I mean? And so I guess that's what motivates
It
me.
gotta be. I say it gotta be motivating though.
Yeah.
To me. But I don't know. Do we got any more questions from the audience?
No, apparently.
Trey got something.
Big treat.
At this stage in your life, what's more important in your relationship? A partner that's loyal or respected, or being respected?
You said loyal or
Loyal or
respected.
respected.
That's rough.
So why they gotta be mutually exclusive?
Don't die.
No, he asked the question.
Nigga.
He asked the question.
My bad.
He trying to weasel out.
Yeah.
Hey Johnny, I think it's a good time for you to start this answer. Go ahead.
Hey, well, I mean, if I had to answer it based on the mutual exclusivity of the question, I'm gonna take the loyalty.
What was that word you just said?
Mutually exclusivity.
Okay.
I like it. Like that, me too. Like I would take loyalty over respect any day.
Yeah, I'm gonna take
loyal to me. You ain't gonna do nothing to.
Yeah, I'm
harm
gonna
me.
take.
You
I'm gonna
ain't
take the
nothing.
loyalty, bruh. I'm gonna take that loyalty, cause like you say, like what you said earlier, unconditional love breeds loyalty. Like respect, fear can breed respect, and I ain't trying to have nobody that's scared of me or nothing like that that just respect me. So when it comes to like, I'm gonna take that loyalty every day.
I guess I'll hop into it. I would say, how do they say it? Aimless plug, maybe. There we go. So,
What was the word? Say it again.
shameless plug, shameless. I knew it. I knew the syllables and like how it rhymed, but I couldn't figure it out.
It was wrong. Go ahead.
I was wrong.
He said it was wrong.
But no. All right. So to answer it, I would say shameless plug. Shirt says loyalty loves different. So I think I'm going to kind of err on that side, where in general, if I have loyalty, I think that what comes with that is a certain level of respectability to it. And even if we're inside a scenario where we both loyal to the idea of working on things, it might not be perfect and it might get disrespectful at a moment in time. But if we both are inside the mindset that we're going to work and progress the relationship, and we're both committed to that general idea, and that we both can trust each other, the fact that, all right, you're here and I'm here and we're going to make this happen, I think that that's probably the ground level of any space of progression inside a relationship, knowing that both people are truly committed to actually making things work. So yeah.
Yeah, that second part of it, that was exactly what I was thinking. Because that loyalty literally that it allows for the roller coaster to come out on the other side. You see what I'm saying? Like that literally allows for that to happen. That loyalty literally provides that foundation to where we can get from this place to this place, whether we gotta go up or down. So that's exactly what I would have said. I agree with you 100% on that second portion.
All right, so good time to throw to the positive takeaways. Johnny, I heard you had a clip loaded.
pre-locked. He got it pre-loaded.
Let's do it.
Pre-filled.
Before we get to the positive takeaway,
Uh-oh.
I got a little audible. I'm gonna be quarterback. I'm gonna run a little hot route. I just want all the boys to give, but outside of the positive takeaway, just run
Bruh,
down.
I wanted my positive takeaway to give thanks. God damn it.
Yeah, no, exactly, bro. I know what you're doing, bro. That's what I know what you're doing, bro. I want us to give thanks outside of the positive takeaway. Then we'll get into some positive shit. But I'll start as far as just something that I'm thankful for over the last year. It's just friendship and brotherhood and infrastructure, black infrastructure. Just the combination of the or the intersection of the three.
Yeah,
You know, it's just being able to see, you know, the potential that niggas got and being able to lean on each other and like seeing what's possible as far as like just the podcast, but even like just bigger than, you know, I don't think this the end of it, you know. So that's something I've always, not always been, because we've just been doing this, but that's something I'm thankful for this year as far as just the fraternity that niggas got and the infrastructure that we building. Of course, like for every year, like my family, uh, being able to eat good on Thanksgiving, all of that. But really for this year, I'm really thankful for this infrastructure that niggas is building and the brotherhood that allowed for this too.
And look like I guess that was fire.
Appreciate
We
that.
going up with
Appreciate
this joint, bro.
that.
But and this may seem well, I guess coming from me, it's definitely not one of those. What do they call? Not the opposite of a pick me, like the male pick me. What is that?
I just call them pick-me's also.
Okay, pick me. But I want to be. I'm thankful for Black women this year. What I'll say, and then I know
Look at the
if you
growth
know
in
me,
real. I like this.
yeah. If you know me, you know that mean that you know what I mean. That means something
A
for real,
lot.
for real. And the reason I said that, I mean, you can need to take it as simple as we just came off of Thanksgiving. A lot of Black women put in some work
Facts.
to make sure that everybody was fed and organized
That's
and did a
facts.
whole bunch of different,
That's
you know what I mean?
facts.
So, and then just to
A
take it,
lot
that
of
was
the
just recent, you know
A
what I
lot
mean?
of the
But
food
then,
we was eating was prepared at the hands of
you know what I
Black
mean?
women.
We appreciate, you know what I mean? Well, we either way, we're going to just leave it on the Black women right now. And then over the last year, specifically the back end of it, I've gotten some perspectives, and not only a perspectives, I've gotten appreciation from Black women in a way that I can't say that I previously did. And that's something that it actually threw me off initially. It threw me off initially, you know what I mean? Because it was like, what? You know what I mean? I had never really experienced it in such a, let's say, consistent manner, or however you want to say that. Um, yeah, so like I know that, you know what I mean, social media can definitely put you in like a have your it can have your vision or the way that you view how black women are, and you know, there are some facts to be said about that, but at the end of the day, what I can say with this is that if you straighten your back as a black man, if you straighten your back, then they'll be there for you. They'll be with you.
There's a
And
reward.
I can say that I 100% appreciate black women. And it was, I mean, I always, you know, I always loved black women, but at the same time, this, like I said, the back half of this year literally kind of raised that flag to where, like, I wanted to make sure I want, you know, to give that, because I know my perspective comes from, you know, you can possibly believe whatever, however you want to
I'm
take
saying
my place.
just vocalizing it as a man mean a lot too, though. I think
Oh yeah, no. I
just
hope it do, because I
just
really do feel that way. You know what I mean? I
just
hope it do
just
mean a lot, because
just
I
saying
really
it.
do feel that way. So that was my appreciation for what I'm thankful for at this right now.
Got you. Thankful. I'd say that I'm thankful for, I guess a good way to sum it up, safe place, safe spaces. There we go. I think that the pod and the conversations in and out of it has given all of us a really safe space to express ourselves
For
and kind of
sure.
pick brains
For sure.
and not feel any kind of way, no matter how you might, perceive us as going back and forth, anything like that. In general, we're all just putting our thoughts and perspectives on the table for it to be dissected for the world, and like bearing a piece of ourselves. And there's a lot of growth that comes with it.
Facts. Facts.
And like I said, I think that even inside my relationship, the pod has been healthy because it's helped promote having a conversational relationship where like we speak through so many things that it's not too many times we have really big rifts because of like we set and reset expectations and our thoughts and our feelings over and over and over, so that it's not a mystery of what's happening. But that comes from like being able to again express and give opinions inside safe spaces, to where it doesn't feel like, you know what I mean? We can use a lot of different words, but in general, like it doesn't feel like a burden on anybody giving these opinions, and it's liberating to actually express it and hear feedback for what you think.
The facts, bro. And I'm just gonna, bro. That right, the pod, bro. I can't even like everything you saying right there. The pod is literally, like you said, it makes you, because your opinion's already out. So it's like you must, at the end of the day, like you live in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Live in it, and it allows for people to really kind of, people appreciate knowing where you are, where you stand. People appreciate that, and literally, you know what I mean? You can tell how much people appreciate it once you start doing it, and the pod is literally giving us the platform to be ourselves and provide that opinion to where it's like, you know what I mean? You know
Even
where
when
I
it's
stand.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, even when it's uncomfortable. Like, even if you disagree, like, that's fine. You know what I mean? And it allows for people to feel more comfortable disagreeing with you. You know what I mean? Just having dope conversations where it's like, and I think that's why we love it so much. We just love dope conversations,
Big facts.
whether on the pod or off the pod. So, no, that was a good one too. I appreciate the shit out of the pod.
Sounds like positive takeaways to me.
Sounds like
I could
positive
speak for
takeaways to me.
me and Rel. I think that was a positive takeaway.
Yeah, that was a positive.
What you
takeaway.
got,
I'm
Johnny?
with it.
Oh, so I
We
see.
did this same shit happened last week.
I see.
Nigga with his preloaded positive
I see.
takeaways and shit.
Niggas just be having quick, you know.
I see what happened. I see what
See, the
happened.
difference
man.
is we like Eminem on 8 Mile. We freestyle with.
I
Exactly.
see what happened.
You know what I'm saying? Like we just get bars off the cuff.
I definitely see what happened.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna wait to bro get my camera straight.
And we did fuck my girl, but I'm still sitting here screaming.
I'm a wait. But my positive takeaway. Q, you seen it last night?
Oh,
Oh, this nigga want to talk about some damn football.
Hell yeah!
Some foosball
University of
games.
South Carolina. We beat Clemson. It's been 7 years. We ain't done it since 2013. But what it speak to though is just perseverance and like not giving up.
Yeah,
And
that's why I rock with my boy.
And always like just having, you know, that goal and not quitting on it and just working towards it. Because the more time if you put the time into it, it's gonna happen for you. You ain't got to question if, it's just when. And so having that faith, putting that work in, it's gonna happen. So shout out to the Gamecocks, man. What camera we on? This one right here. Cluck Flimpson. Shout out to Gamecocks.
This nigga here, bro.
Man, that's my positive takeaway to perseverance, man. It's been 7 years,
damn, you
man.
about cried just then. That was
He
crazy.
definitely
Hey,
was in his feelings.
Hey, man.
I heard your voice break.
Yeah.
Y'all must have been getting y'all ass whooped for years.
Hey, man. Hey, we ain't get our ass whooped this year. That's all that matters.
That shit was
7
like
years
spiritual.
perseverance, man.
We finally
Hey
did
man,
it.
shout out my boys, man. Juju, Spencer, Jaheim Bell. Them boys just did their thing, man. That's all I got, man. Perseverance, man. You put the work in. You had a family. You had the infrastructure. It's gonna come. You gonna reach that potential at some point. So that's my thing. I'm gonna just build off of, you know, forever to thee, baby. I'll say that was a good show. This was the To Be Fair Show. Like, comment, and subscribe below. Follow us on Facebook at The To Be Fair Show. Follow us on Instagram at The To Be Fair Show.
Follow him on OnlyFans, Johnny P.
Johnny P the GOAT. Now let me get that back, man. Let me get that back.
You supposed to let that rock. That was
I
good.
had to clear my throat, man.
Nah, we
that was-
done, goddamn.
Yeah, nah, go ahead.
Johnny.
My throat, man. I had
He
to
gave out his real OnlyFans. That's what just happened. He ain't want that to,
That's what it
he ain't
was.
want that to go on.
I think that was a good show. This was the To Be Fair Show. I am your host, Johnny P.
Oh, it real.
It's Q.
And we out.
We out.